Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. It's indeed a pleasure to be here on this forum. My name is Colonel Hari Shankar, and I head the Solutions Development and CRM function for Embassy Services Private Limited in Bangalore. I'm talking to you from Bangalore today. At the outset, I should like to thank FMJPI for having given me this opportunity to come and speak to you in this August forum. I was just going through the speakers who have been here in this forum earlier, and I could see all the major stalwarts of the FM industry of India who have been on this. So it's a great privilege and honor for me to be here. Since most of the audience I expect should be from the real estate industry, you would have heard of the Embassy Group, but if not, I'd just like to briefly talk about the group and then I'll start with the topic. Embassy is one of the largest real estate developers in the country with our portfolio exposure in commercial segment in the in offices and tech parks across India. We are in the residential segment, industrial warehousing, co-working, hospitality, education, virtually in almost all sectors of the real estate. And Embassy Services, the company I represent, we manage close to 75 million square feet of space across the country in different segments. So I think, with the experience that I have here and also with my earlier company when I was with JLL, I'll dive immediately into the topic, which is technology intervention in the modern workplace or technology in the FM industry per se. Now, this is a topic which one has heard, one has spoken, and one has read about, and one has probably implemented in your respective organizations also. But it's very important to step back and see where we are at this point in time, how it all started, and where it actually should end up. Which, if it has to bring in real value to the entire chain of people who are in this FM environment, if I can use that term. And before I start, I just want to talk to you about a survey which was conducted a couple of years back on what has been the technology absorption in different industry segments. So the survey was conducted across different industries, for example, in the hospitality, in healthcare, in real estate, in agriculture, in logistics, shipping, IT, finance, consulting. I mean, virtually all the industries they covered, and they wanted to see how much of technology is being used in these sectors. And obviously, IT industry was the first because they are the ones who create technology, so it is the used maximum there. But if you come to the bottom half and or to the end of the table, the industry which has got the least technology absorption is agriculture, which is understandable because it is closest to nature and it is far away from technology. And if at all they need, it's probably machinizations, machineries, etc. But the second segment after agriculture is real estate. So we are kind of the second last in absorption of technology as far as worldwide data is concerned. So I think we have a lot of catching up to do, and there's a lot of things which we can do, which is actually an opportunity for all of us. Uh, just to give you a saying about one Jim Beckersdale, who is the ex-CEO of Netscape, he had said a very important saying. He said, "If you have data, let's go with that. If all we have is an opinion, let's go with mine." And another saying which is very interesting is, "In God we trust. All others bring data." I mean, it goes to show how much of importance is there as far as data is concerned in almost all the industry segments, and it is especially true for our segment also. So if I start talking about the genesis of technology in IFM, traditionally this is a sector which has been overlooked. We are still on the cusp of disruption, I would say. So many other industries have really gone miles ahead, as has come out in the survey also. And one of the main reasons is because facility management industry even today is highly labor dependent. It's highly man force, man work, and the number of people deployed is dependent on that. And any innovations which leads to reduction in labor leads to reduction in revenue, leading to reduction in margins, which nobody is interested in. So if there is a direct impact on margins, people try to kind of slow that initiative down. So therefore, the efficiency of technology in FM has been traditionally low, and service providers and also the folks who are at the work level, which I'll talk about a little later, we all work with a very monochromatic mindset of technology replacing manpower, etc. which has led to this delayed implementation of technology. So, if you really ask, why do we need technology in the FM? There are two, three main reasons which comes out. One, from the client side, they see a lot of spend which is happening. They see a lot of money being spent in the housekeeping, the technical, the horticulture, the management of space per se, in parking, etc. A lot of money goes in the annual maintenance contracts, in the repairs and maintenance, in the the use of the subject matter experts, audits, etc. But at the end result, sometimes is not really visible. It's not a tangible result of where all this spend is being actually giving benefit to the employees and to the companies. What this leads to is a disconnect between various systems and processes. Now, even if some units or some clients have invested in technology, it is that they have certain processes they have integrated, but the systems as a whole have not got integrated. Second problem, which why we need technology, is more often than not, we see that perception drives the facility management performance. By what I mean by this is, more often than not, it is perception of the performance which is told in conferences, in reviews, in meetings, etc. Or as that so and so agency is not doing job correctly, or so and so service is not okay, and it's all based on perception and not backed by data. But what happens when you don't have data is that this perception slowly starts becoming the truth, while the reality could be vastly different. So it's very important to have this data to fight the wrong perception so that the reality is known to everybody. So the solution may not be to have highly disruptive technologies like AI, IoT, which are the words which gets bandied about repeatedly. And while it may be useful in various other sectors, to use those same words here and say that that's the kind of technology we need may not be the right thing. So, in addition to the couple of points which I said, certain other important challenges which we face in the digital transformation of the FM. Digital transformation is the phrase which is being used, that this we need to transform ourselves and become a digitally transformed service provider. One of the major problems that we face is the most of the FM staff who are working at the ground level have very low technology awareness. While they may be extremely proficient in using their mobiles, and maybe go and log into sites and see various sites or play games and things like that, but their understanding of the technology as a function is pretty low, and you can't blame them. It is based on the socioeconomic sector they come from, the kind of educational background that they have had, the kind of cultural influences that they have at the workplace and at the office. All this leads to manual labor being given a lot of importance. And you can't, I mean, again, like I'm saying, they're extremely busy right from the time they come into office and they go out. They're doing continuously a lots of works and things like that. So this low technology awareness at the lowest level is one of the first big hurdles that we are facing, the challenges that we face. The second challenge that most of us face is that even if we are able to overcome this by training, by using tools, etc., there is a lot of resistance to use of these technology tools by the lower staff. And this is essentially to do with the feeling that technology will take away their jobs. They feel that if this comes in, then maybe I might lose my job, my friends may lose their job, so or my salary may go down and things like that. So the fear of job also leads to lower absorption of technology by the staff. So it's important that firstly the technology needs to be, the trust needs to be built in at that levels. But you can't blame that segment alone for the low absorption of technology. I think that's a minor problem comparatively. The bigger problem is on the service provider and the client side. From the service provider side, the vendors or the manpower providers, I would say that I touched upon it earlier. The fact that it might hit our margins stops us from putting in technology. And from the client side, what happens is, most of them are at lease spaces, and if they're not owned spaces, they feel that the developer should put in the technology. They feel that the service provider should put in, and they themselves are not really, interested in investing in this. And they also don't understand what is the cost benefit analysis if I do it, things as it is working. So I mean, there is a plethora of reasons or challenges that leads to low absorption of technology. But all said and done, we all know and that without technology, nothing is going to work. This world is running on it. So whether we are at the lowest level of the staff working, or the service provider, or the client, while the base understanding is there, and it is, and over the years it has built up, and we see a lot of technology has come in, these challenges are still there in some pockets, but kind of we have come over this. So, what are the important things to be kept in mind when we are bringing technology innovations in the FM sector? I'll just briefly touch about it before moving on to the actual interventions that can be done. The first and foremost is that the technology has to be easy to use, even for the lowest denominator. This is a no-brainer. The person who's finally going to use it should be able to use it easily. He should be able to understand it, and not very complicated interfaces, etc. So essentially, it should have a bottoms-up approach when we are working on these tools. Second important point, if I can use a phrase, is horses for courses. By what I mean by this is, we should provide those tools which will impact operations maximum, which will bring in transparency and efficiency to operations, and not just bring in a technology just because it is available in the market. So AI and IoT, etc., devices which are being, or technologies which are very useful in various other sectors, but not necessarily doesn't mean that only those ones will be useful here. And the third important thing that we need to be done is, once the bottoms up technology tools have been decided, we have decided what kind of platforms need to come in, is the training which is required to bring all these people on board and enable them to use this technology very easily. All this will lead to a trust across various stakeholders, all the players in the chain, enabling the technology to be useful. So, which are the three, the main segments which are there who are going to be benefited by this any interventions, and especially in the technology space? I would say there are three levels. One is the workforce, the people who are going to be using it physically every day. Second is the supervisory or the middle layer, which could be managers at the service provider level or the junior managers in the client side. And third is the senior management, both at the the service provider and especially more so from the client side. So three levels: workforce level, supervisory level, and senior management level. At the workforce level, what should a technology tool do? If I am a janitor and if I am coming to a place to clean, a space, maybe a sophisticated place like a boardroom or a technology center, etc., could be even a restroom anywhere or a cafeteria, etc. I should know what I'm supposed to do when I enter that place. So that's what to do should be very clearly. The tool should showcase what should be done, and if he knows what to do, then is how to do it is the second step. So what to do is very important. The tool should not become so complicated that he doesn't even understand what he's supposed to do with that tool, or what all tasks he's supposed to do in that place. Second is, he should be sure that he or she should be sure that if I do my job correctly, the rewards and recognition would be based on this data, and it is not that if I use this tool, it is going to lead to any deletion of my job, or a loss of pay, or anything of that kind. I mean, fairness in reward and recognition is something that this tool should bring in. All this will lead to a motivated workforce, and you will see a higher absorption of technology tools. So this is what is important at the workforce level. At the supervisory level or the middle management level, what should they see? It could be an AFM, it could be an FM, or maybe even a slightly senior levels, depending on the organizations that are involved in this. That person should be able to see who is doing what. Now, the lower level is doing, but we should know who is doing what. And the whole idea is to eliminate human errors. So this tool should be, useful to that guy, but it should eliminate all the human errors which creeps in the current system. So the middle level management should be able to see that, identify those points and eliminate those human errors, so that we have a little bit of data for doing a data analysis. The data analysis will be more with the senior management level, but it will ensure that an ideal allocation of workforce happens at the supervisory level. Currently, manpower is divided mathematically into different segments of your office, or the factory or the warehouse space, and there's no dynamic allocation. I mean, people are told you go here and work, and that's what he does whenever he comes for 26 days a month, for example, without knowing that in case there is a dynamic allocation, it is more to do with on phone calls, or if there is a panic reaction, people are called from somewhere and pushed, rather than technology enabling this dynamic allocation of workforce based on the actual usage and need. So this is the supervisory level would benefit by this. At the senior management level, I think one of the major plus points of bringing in big time technology or technology relevant technology tools would be in the on the compliance front is number one, where if they know that the background verification, the labor compliance, the building compliances, the fire NOCs, all those compliances, statutory norms, rules and regulations are being followed, including payment of PF, ESI, etc. And everything is available on a tool and they are able to see it very transparently. So it gives a peace of mind that, from a compliance perspective, my company is taken care of. Second is any management is bothered about the spend. And the moment we say saving in FM, more often than not, we think that we reduce some people, reduce 10 people, and that is the saving in FM that we can pass on to the client. I think that's a very, very narrow view of savings in FM. In fact, the manpower savings that we sometimes insist on from the client side, or we as service providers sometimes we refer to the or recommend to the client, actually is a very minuscule part. One of the biggest spends that they have is on energy. If you are able to handle the energy spend of a client, whether it is through use of IoT devices, whether through energy meters, whether digitization of the energy spend, leading and to an analysis of what needs to be changed, whether an equipment is drawing too much energy than usual, is there a space when compared to other space which is drawing more energy when it shouldn't be? Is it to do with the the aging of the equipment? Is there a need for better repair and maintenance? Is there a problem with the spares? Is there a spurious spares coming in? The amount of data which can come in, which is leading to saving of energies and the efficiencies that brings in is far far higher than the minuscule savings that may come in by reducing a few people here and there. So all this will lead to transparency in operations, which is what the management is looking at. So I would say these are the different levels where technology needs to come in, and it'll become a force multiplier rather than a hindrance to work, which is how many sometimes the lower agencies consider it to be. So embassy services, the company, what have we done about it? I'm just going to talk about a few tools that we have done. I mean, as an example, to highlight how we are focused on certain areas. While we have a suite of technology tools which is named as e-spectrum, the word spectrum indicating end-to-end management of all the FM services, and all our technology tools are at a different levels. It impacts the business. For example, we have a set of 12 tools, I'll say, and I'll not dive into each of them in detail. I'm just going to talk to you about only three of them, so that that could be the takeaways of this today's talk on how these relevant tools can be brought in by anybody and everybody who is in the FM industry. But to talk about the set of tools that we have a ticketing tool, we have a digital logbook, we have a beacon workforce management tool for helping janitors. I'll talk about it. A vista management system, background verification, attendance management using facial recognition, an inventory management tool, feedback from the employees, an e-approval tool for operations team, internal operations. There is an audit tool. The multiple audits keep happening, and no one knows that how many NCs were there. Have you replied to it? So all those putting all audits, internal, external, could be even IMS audits, whatever be the audits, and all that putting on onto a tool rather than using Excel and PowerPoints. There's a 5i tool which is basically into the RCAs. If there has been any breakdowns, what has been the past breakdowns, all these tools speaking to a dashboard. So out of this set of tools, I'm going to focus only on three tools because I'm sure most of you have most of these tools, and I feel it's not relevant to talk about all the tools. I just want to see how this technology intervention is really going to help in the FM. So one of the first tools, and a simple tool which most of us have, is this ticketing tool, where, like for example, Embassy 360 is a tool where anybody can raise a ticket using your mobile, or by logging into your PC, or by sending a mail, or on or calling a toll-free number. So the multiple ways to raise a ticket. The moment a ticket gets raised, what happens is it gets allocated to the person on duty by name. So suppose Mr. Say Ram is there as a technician somewhere. It goes into his mobile that, boss, this is the job for you, and this is where you got to do, and this is the timeline. And based on the timeline, there's an escalation matrix set, and if a task doesn't get resolved, it gets escalated to the people who have been mentioned in that matrix, both on the client side and in the service provider side. So this is pretty basic. Most agencies have this. But where we go wrong is that a ticket gets raised, a ticket gets resolved or does not get resolved. They come out with a percentage at the end of the month that okay, 98%, 99%, 93%, whatever percentage of closures, on-time closures, and then there is some penalty, etc. Whatever could be the norms of that particular contract, and then we leave this tool here. I think that is where the job should start. The analysis of the data of how many tickets got raised, why it got raised, and what has been the trend in the past 3 months, 6 months, 1 year. And how do you compare this data with a similar building or a similar setup? This analysis is something which doesn't happen I've seen it in most organizations, and we leave it at the point where I talked about earlier with a review on closure on the percentage, but not really analyzing why a particular set of tickets got raised in the first place. So, if that analysis can be done, the impact would be that the number of tickets which is getting raised later should be much lesser. It is not closure of a ticket which is important, but why a ticket gets raised. Understanding that is, I think it's the bigger part of the importance of a tool, and not just recording. So, putting it on Excel, if you're able to see it on a tool, that's actually not really making a difference. Second tool I want to talk about is the beacon workforce management. So, most of the tools that we have is supporting the technology, the technical teams, I would put it, the technicians, it's on energy, it is on space management, it is on visitor management, it is on inventory management. All this is, supporting the technical side of it. There's hardly any tool which is there to support a janitor, a housekeeping staff when he comes into work. So this beacon workforce management tool, which is probably, I think it's a very unique tool that we have. It's the size of a beacon. A beacon is, I'm sorry, it's based on a beacon technology where beacon is the size of a carom striker, which can be placed in any portion of your, workspace. It can be in a restroom, it can be in a cafeteria, in a boardroom, in a reception area, wherever, and it is customized to that particular location. The moment a janitor comes in, what he or she is supposed to do, the 10, 15, 20 tasks pops up on his or her screen from the beacon, which is communicating through the Bluetooth technology. There is no internet required here. And the moment the person sees the jobs to be done, firstly you have ensured that he knows what needs to be done at that place. He doesn't miss a task, and he has to go through that all the tasks, and he also has the feature to take a pre and a post photograph of that place. So if it's a particularly a place is dirty or whatever, and or it is something is broken, immediately takes a photograph, a pre post photograph, and gets loaded. And more importantly, if he wants to raise a ticket or raise a comment, he can immediately type it in and just in code, and the ticket gets raised also. So all of this without him having to call his supervisor or having to go out and tell somebody. In a matter of seconds, the person knows what is to be done. He has taken a pre-photograph, he does his job, takes a post photograph, and then if a raising of a ticket and all, he can do it automatically from there. This particular for that person, or it could even be a shortage of an item. Maybe there's no toilet rolls or there's no soap or whatever could be the thing. All that also, without him having to really go out and look for people and whether he's present or not, all that comes into the system. All that is taken away by using this tool. So that is how it is helping the janitorial staff. And at the middle level, you will know exactly as to how much, who went where and did what. So, and this is on a live tracking, and then you will get to see, okay, so and so person went here, he spent so much time. And with this data of, when you have this data for over a period of time of 3 months, 6 months, instead of a mathematical distribution of manpower, which is what happens now, that we allocate a space and say this takes half an hour, this takes 1 hour, this takes half an hour, whatever be the distribution, data will show what is the actual time required. Maybe you have allocated less time, you need to give them more time elsewhere. Maybe you allocated more, you can do that. Secondly, you will see that similar spaces have different time usages based on the footfalls in that particular area. And without data, it's very difficult to understand whether a person can do more floors. Now it's a very mathematically equal areas are given to the same staff, thinking that everybody has got the same workload, which is not really the case. So there is no dynamic allocation of work which happens, which can be done through this tool. So I think we need to really see how to bring in, efficiencies at this level and support them also in working, which is what this Beacon Workforce tool does. And the third tool which I want to talk about is slightly higher end, which is supporting the the technical, the energy and all, is the use of IoT devices and smart monitoring systems. So what we have done is three things. One is energy meters, smart energy meters, where even the existing analog meters can be digitized, or we can put a digital energy meter. This, besides understanding what is the energy consumption in a particular room or a place, you can even sub-allocate it as per the project. One floor can have 5 meters, for example, or different floors. One will be able to see at different times what is the usage of power. So a lot of analysis on the power factor, on the voltage to line, what is the ratio which is being managed, etc. The energy meter readings is not just to pay off your electricity bills. The kind of data which it gives, and if it is analyzed correctly, we are able to understand if there is a power drain in a particular floor or in a particular project space when it shouldn't be, and we are able to understand if an equipment is actually bad, which is leading to the power drain. You need the cooling towers, maybe needs descaling, or if it needs a change, or an HVAC system is drawing too much power, then what should be the norm. Benchmarking can be done, and you can confirm it along with the industry benchmarks, whether the energy consumption is in line with what the world is, or what the rest of the companies are going through. So digitized energy meters leading to data and analysis of this data. So this is one important thing that we are doing. Second is, the data centers and hub rooms are crucial for IT companies. I mean, that all of us know. It's again, I mean, it's a no-brainer. But the humidity temperature management is critical there. So we have these IoT devices will automatically give this temperature, humidity on a real-time basis, leading to alerts in case it is going above or below the acceptable parameters, and interventions at the right time, leading to avoidance of any breakdown in business. So this is a very good use of IoT devices that we have done here. A third important thing that we have done is the fuel monitoring systems using sensors. Now, people who are managing large parks will understand that you have multiple underground tankages at different places, and there's a lot of fuel which comes in, especially in cities where there is power outages, or could be in slightly remote locations where there are smaller offices and they are using individual DGs, etc. There's a lot of I won't say willfully, but there's a lot of chance for pilferage. There's a lot of chance for loss of diesel or fuel, etc. So we have used sensors to track diesel consumption, diesel going into a particular tank, how much it is coming out, how much is going into a particular DG, how it is being used there. So all this data also ensures that you never go below a particular level of diesel. The demand gets automatically triggered, and so that way there is no business loss, I would. And more importantly is understanding and holding on to this data for the diesel levels and ensuring there's no pilferage, etc. So we have multiple other tools also, but I think these are the 2 3 tools which I thought I should speak to you about. And this was a brief introduction of how technology can be used in FM, and the kind of benefit it can bring in. So, in case there is anything I can talk about, or if there are any queries, if I would like to, um, so let me just see if there are any questions, please. I'll just see. I just see message from Smita. She's talking about waste is Gold Technologies Private Limited, and something from her side which she has sent a remark. But if there is anything on technology in the FM space which I can talk about, or if there are any questions, then I'm ready to take off. So I'd like to end by going to my how I started the topic, where the Netscape CEO had said, if you have data, let's go with that. But if all we have is an opinion, let's go with mine. So I think we have traveled a great journey in the FM space in the last few years. There are lots of companies which are focusing on technology, but what is important is to put in technology which actually makes a difference to the three entities which I spoke about: as the workforce, the supervisory staff, and the senior management, and not go by just some the latest technology which are probably useful for the financial sector or the technology sector or the IT sector, and look at relevant tools which will make a big difference at all levels of work. With this, I'm ready to close. If there are, I'll just wait for a minute more before I end my video. And thank you all for giving me this opportunity, and thank you to FMJPI. It's been great being on this platform, and look forward to connecting and interacting with you all even later. Thank you so much. Good evening. Bye bye.